Hello, I'm Todd Michael Putnam, and in this third episode of Creatures in Catacombs, Rules in Action, we're going to look at the rules for desperate actions. We'll check out how it works, and then we'll look at an example of desperate actions in-game. And as always, adventure awaits, so let's get right to it. How many times have players sat there and watched helplessly as one of their party members was about to get crushed by a monster, but there was nothing they could do about it because they were too far down on the initiative order? It's so frustrating because heroes should be able to attempt heroic acts even if it means doing something desperate and dangerous. And that's exactly what desperate actions allows you to do in Creatures in Catacombs. Temporarily move ahead in the initiative order by acting before you're really ready, but at the cost of greatly reducing both your chances of success and how effective your actions actually are. With desperate actions, you are no longer completely helpless when it's not yet your turn to act that round. Here's how desperate actions work. Any character can declare they are attempting a desperate action in order to temporarily bump their initiative in front of another creature or person for that round only, if they fear they can't wait until their normal initiative order to act. Desperate actions can be declared any time before the character that wants to do it has acted in that round, and before the person or creature they are attempting to temporarily push ahead of in the initiative order has acted that round, never after. Characters making death saves cannot declare a desperate action, and characters can only declare a desperate action once per long rest. But what if multiple characters declare a desperate action at the same time? Well, if they do that, and they're both attempting desperate actions, you simply roll a d20 and add the initiative bonus for each who have declared it. Order is determined from the highest roller to the lowest of those attempting the desperate actions. They don't get to choose because they're desperately scrambling to try and make things happen, and they don't have the option of coordinating one another. Once they're finished, then the normal initiative order proceeds afterwards, and on the very next round, all initiatives will return to normal. Once a desperate action has been declared, it cannot be rescinded. You are already in motion, desperately scrambling to try to make something happen. So those are some of the rules, but attempting desperate acts before one is really ready to act is one thing. Succeeding is something else entirely, because desperate actions come with some pretty big drawbacks. The effects of desperate actions for the character taking them are that all of the character's d20 dice rolls, except for death saves, are at disadvantage. Any and all healing spells, potions, and abilities that I either cast or administer only heal for 1/2 their rolled amounts. And other types of non-healing potions have only half their normal duration. Utility-type non-healing spells that normally have no spell attack or spell save DC associated with them require a flat d20 roll to see if they cast successfully. A roll of 10 or higher and the spell goes off. A roll of a 9 or less will result in a d12 spell failure table roll. Finally, if an existing spell or other effect happens automatically on the turn of the character attempting desperate actions, it still does so on the normal turn order. What do I mean? Here's an example. A flaming sphere that was not moved during the desperate action phase and is next to a monster will still automatically burn the monster on the caster's normal turn order, requiring it to make a normal saving throw. But a spirit weapon next to a monster requires a bonus action to attack, and that attack would be at disadvantage. Okay, enough rules. Let's look at some examples of desperate actions in action. Morgan Heelhammer is a 3rd level cleric, and Sammy Shadowfoot is a 3rd level rogue. The pair were in a port city that's been attacked by Saugin, and a Saugin Baron has been battling with them directly. After a brief struggle, the Saugin has gotten the upper hand, and things are starting to look desperate. The initiative order is that the Saugin is first with a 19, Shadowfoot is next with a 16, and Heelhammer is last with a 9. Shadowfoot was grievously injured in the last round, is down to 2 hit points, and was knocked prone. And Heelhammer knows that if the Saugin goes first in its initiative order and it hits, it's probably lights out for a stealthy friend. Because the cleric is last on the initiative order, he declares he's going to attempt a desperate action to save his friend before the Saugin can attack. Sammy also declares that he's going to attempt a desperate action in a last-ditch bid to save his own life. Since both Heelhammer and Shadowfoot have both declared desperate actions, they each roll a d20 and add their initiative modifier, comparing the results to see who goes first. They don't get to choose who goes first because they don't have time to coordinate their actions during the mad scramble. They're both acting desperately before they're ready. Sammy, being a nimble rogue type, gets a 17, and Heelhammer gets a 14. So for this round only, it will be Shadowfoot first, then Heelhammer, both of whom have penalties because they're taking desperate actions, and finally the Saugin, who does not have any penalties. Sammy quickly decides to quaff a healing potion for his action, rolling his 2d4 plus 2, but cutting the total amount of healing in half because some of it is spilled in the rush to uncork it and drink it before he's ready. He rolls a total of 8, cutting it down to 4 hit points actually healed. That brings him up from 2 hit points back to 6. Possibly a fighting chance at survival, but still not good. He uses his movement to at least get to his feet so that he's not prone, and uses his cunning action to disengage as a bonus action and move closer to the cleric, avoiding the attack of opportunity. Heelhammer closes the remaining distance to Sammy Shadowfoot and casts a Cure Light Wounds at 2nd level for 2 spell points. Heelhammer rolls the 2d8 plus his Wisdom modifier of 3 and gets a total of 11. But rushing through his prayers, the divine energy cannot fully manifest through the cleric, and Sammy is only healed for 5 more hit points. So Sammy has a total now of 11 hit points, up from 2. Heelhammer then uses his bonus action to cast a Shield of Faith, which costs 1 spell point, on Sammy Shadowfoot. Because Shield of Faith is a utility type spell that doesn't require attack or saving throw, he rolls a d20 to attempt to see if the spell will go off during a desperate action. And he gets a 12. That's greater than the 10 that he needs, and the spell goes off, giving Sammy Shadowfoot an extra +2 to his defense bonus. Sammy's situation, while still dangerous, is much improved. Both desperate actions having been concluded, now it's the Saugin's turn, and he runs up and attacks Sammy with a regular attack roll, getting a total of 11 including his attack bonus. Sammy's defense bonus is +5, but now, because of the desperate actions of his cleric friend, Sammy also has Shield of Faith cast on him for another +2, giving him a total defense bonus of +7. Sammy rolls his d20 and gets a 5 on the dice. Adding his +7 defense bonus brings him up to a total of 12, so the Saugin's attack misses. Since both Heelhammer and Shadowfoot have already gone this round when they took their desperate actions, they don't get to act again in the same round. It brings it back to the top of a new round and the normal initiative order, making it the Saugin's turn to attack again. They clearly aren't yet out of danger, but in this case, desperate actions likely just saved poor Sammy's life. So here's a quick recap. Desperate actions allow characters to act ahead of their current initiative order. Desperate actions do not permanently change the initiative order, it's only for that round. And a character can only attempt a desperate action once per long rest. But there's also some big penalties while attempting a desperate action, including all that character's d20 dice rolls, except death saves, are at disadvantage. Any and all healing spells, potions, and abilities they cast or administer only heal for half their rolled amount. Non-healing potions have only half their normal duration. Utility type non-healing spells that normally have no spell attack or spell save DC associated with them require a flat d20 roll, with 10 or higher allowing the spell to successfully go off, and 9 or less resulting in a spell failure table roll. Finally, if an existing spell or other effect happens automatically on the turn of the character performing desperate actions, it still does so on the normal order turn. So in desperate times, call for desperate measures. In Creatures and Catacombs, you can attempt desperate actions. And that's going to cover it for this episode of Creatures and Catacombs Rules in Action. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Or if you're ready to see all the ways that C&C can make adventuring more exciting, you can go to dmsguild.com, search for Creatures and Catacombs using the ampersand symbol, and you can download the entire Creatures and Catacombs 5e homebrew rule set absolutely free. May all your adventures be epic.